In this video, we have Piers Morgan going at Neil deGrasse Tyson in this trans debate. All right. So obviously, you know, if this topic is real sensitive to you, viewer discretion is advised. Of course, you know, Neil, very, very smart guy. You know, he definitely brings a lot to the table as far as his space, but I definitely been noticing, you know, he's stepping more into this space. You know, he went on a couple different shows, right? A couple different shows, and which is all good. It's all dandy. But I don't know. Is he going to be able to handle himself with Piers Morgan? All right, guys. So we get right into it. Without further ado, let's rock.
Okay.
In science and technology. And I just got very accustomed to that, frankly. Yeah, and I'd like to see that continue.
Yeah, and it's been overtaken by a lot of countries, a lot of Asian countries in particular. This brings me neatly actually to another part of that Bill Maher interview, which I really enjoyed. Love watching you on Bill Maher. But you had a little disagreement about this very hot potato issue about the science of trans athletes in women's sport. Let's take a look.
Engage with the idea here. What I'm asking is, Scientific American is saying basically that the reason why an WNBA team can't beat the Lakers is because of societal bias.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody...
Okay, this is called Scientific American, and they're printing something
because someone enters the cesspool that is social media and then participates in that exchange. So
why can't you
let's talk about science.
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American should do better?
So I have been on this issue for a long time, and I am surprised, given your earlier statement just now about the importance that we have a fact-based society where science is based on reality and everything else. There is there not, I would put it to you, Neil, there is a cold, hard reality about this whole trans issue, which is that I'm sure like you, I absolutely want all trans people to have utter equality and fairness in the way that I do and you do. Absolutely. I've never said anything different. However, not to the point where it erodes women's rights to fairness and equality. And there is clearly a growing unfairness and inequality from the issue of people who are born biologically male, identifying as women and being allowed to compete against biological females, and then beginning increasingly to be quite dominant, to the extent where we saw people winning in the boxing in the Paris Olympics. We've seen the Footballer of the Year, Women's Footballer of the Year in the UK, voted by the BBC, Barbara Banda from Zambia, also has been banned for sex-related issues in terms of not being allowed to compete in previous tournaments. And so on and so on. The UN just had a big report which said that 900 medals around the world in competitive sport have been deprived from female athletes because trans athletes had won. So I put it to you that you're a scientist. It is clearly an indisputable scientific fact that biological males have a superior power and stamina and lung power and all these other things to biological females, because if they didn't, we would never separate the sexes in sport. The Olympics would be gender neutral. And they're not for a reason. Women wouldn't win anything. So when I hear you try and justify it or say that there's a scientific, and maybe there's not, maybe I'm misquoting you here, but there's some kind of scientific reason why it's fine. I'm not, hang on, Neil, you're Mr. Reality Check. You're Mr. Cold Hard Fact. Sure.
All right. I'm shocked we're still talking about this. Guys, like at this point, you wouldn't be able to talk about this back in, and by the way, I'm not trying to say, okay, we're not progressing as a society, which that's debatable, but I do think we are in a lot of aspects. We are definitely progressing, especially in the technology sector. But this stuff, look, come on. What are we talking about? But let's see what Neil says.
Surely you can see that this is wrong without it actually having to be transphobic to say that.
Well, so you have me here live on your show. We don't have to comment on other shows. So let's just have this conversation.
Yeah.
So I did my own study of the relative speed of men relative to women in Olympic sports, the world records, from the 100 meters to the 200 meters, the 400, right on up to the marathon. And what I noticed is in every event, on average, men were 10% faster than women, 10% faster. And in events that require strength, that percent was even higher. I forgot what my exact number, it might have been 50% stronger, okay? So across the board, that is the case. So that's not, there's no dispute there. That's just objective truth. So now we have to ask, why do we watch sports at all, okay? And at Friday Night Lights, that's in the United States, that's high school football. Saturday, it's college football. Sunday, it's the NFL. Do you realize, of course, that the worst team ever in the NFL could wipe its ass with the best team ever in college? Why? Because every single player in the NFL was the best person in their college. And so there's no contest between these zones of athletic engagement. But we still like watching college. We don't watch college and say, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles could whip their ass, so let's not watch it. No, we like the equality of the contest and not knowing who would win. That's what makes sports fun. Okay, so if there's a wave of trans women who dominate the sport against other women, all those sports will become less interesting based on how we all watch sports. Even the Super Bowl here in the United States, if it's a blowout by halftime, nobody watches the second half.
Right.
We watch it for the equality of the contest. Okay.
I'm gonna have to agree with him. I mean, he's speaking facts, right? And I don't always agree with Neil. I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't always do that, but I've literally been to football games where they literally walk out of the stadium. So he's right. He's cooking so far, but let's see. Let's see.
Okay, so
sounds like you agree
all
with me
I'm
there.
saying is, like you said, wait, I'm almost done. So what I see is sports is on the frontier of how to handle this frontier of people who are trans. It's on the frontier of how to resolve that. And I'm making this up now. Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios. I'm making this up, but imagine that if that were the case. That would be interesting. You get a hormone test, if you're in this range, and then you compete against other people with the same range of hormones.
That's ridiculous.
That's
Neil, that is ridiculous.
No, it's not. I'll tell you why it's
You're
not
going to give
ridiculous.
every
Hold on.
single
I used to
person in
wrestle.
sport a hormone test.
Hold on. I used to wrestle. And wrestling, there are people who weigh, sorry, am I using pounds here, 125 pounds, right on up to 240 pounds. They don't wrestle each other. The entire sport separates people so that the contest is interesting.
Yeah.
And so the people of the same weight wrestle each other, and that is the contest.
But if Floyd Mayweather...
I don't know if that's how it will land.
Hang on, Neil. If Floyd Mayweather fought a woman boxer, a female woman boxer, who was the same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. And in fact, in the Paris Olympics, the winner of one of the women's boxing competitions, one of the
Piers,
females
that's
who
not what I was
took her
talking
on.
about.
But my point is that I just think that, if you don't mind me saying, I say this respectfully because I love you, but it just seems to me like you've dug yourself into a slight hole on this issue, and you're trying to get out of it. Now you're suggesting slightly mad.
No, Piers, stop, Piers, stop. That's not. I don't think that's what he's doing neither. And by the way, I usually most of the time always agree with Piers, but Piers, I gotta push back on that. I don't think in this instance he's doing that. I do think that Neil genuinely believes that, genuinely thinks that. And honestly, I don't agree with it. I'm going to be honest with you. No, I think it should just be men with men, women with women. I don't think we should say, oh, come here, Timothy. Come here, John. Let's do a DNA test to see if you got a lot of testosterone. Or come here, Samantha. Oh, you got more testosterone. You know what I mean? Let's put you up against John. I don't think that should happen. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Back to the video.
Theories, whereas the science to me is obvious. You've already given the best argument I've heard for why we separate the sexes.
Hold on. You misquoted me in this very interview. What I said was the idea of creating categories within a sport splitting them in the example I gave, which I just made it up, like hormone ratios, is not fundamentally weird compared to dividing wrestlers by weight.
No,
because
it is.
the only
It is.
reason why you
I'm
do
gonna
this
respond.
is to make an interesting contest.
No, Neil, you're wrong.
And so you said Floyd Mayweather fight. Hold on, hold on.
You're
you
wrong.
said Floyd Mayweather.
You're not
fighting
allowing for the superior male biology when it comes to lung capacity, stamina, to body mass, to muscle mass, all those things. If you just take one criteria of hormones, you're not allowing all that. I'll give an example. Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously hang on. I'm going to finish my point. Let me finish my point. Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympic male decathlon gold medal winner. Caitlyn is a big golf fan. And when she started playing golf after she transitioned, she was allowed to play off the women's tees, which are 50 yards further than the men's tees. And she quickly realized that she was still smashing it 300 yards down, and obviously was then beating all the women that she played. So she now plays back off the male tees because her biology is that of a man. And I feel that that was the most honest way to deal with it. I also feel that if you want to have a separate category, have a trans category. Or have trans women compete against men, which is their biology. Isn't that the scientific way to resolve this?
I don't have a solution. What I started this section of the conversation by saying that how you handle trans athletes is a frontier in sports that does not yet have a full solution. And so, and I made up an example, like maybe you could divide people by hormones. I don't know if that would work physiologically, but at the end of the day, we watch sporting events because they are competitively interesting. And so something's going to have to get resolved there, and I don't have that solution.
I do.
I do.
You have a trans category, or you have the trans women compete against biological men, which is what they are. And I completely respect trans rights.
That may be, that may be how it settles, but I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's a frontier without a current solution that everybody agrees to. That's all I'm telling you. And I started this by affirming, yes, men are faster and stronger than the average man is stronger and faster too. World-class men are faster and stronger than world-class women. Obviously, there's huge overlap when you come down the rest of the distribution.
The truth is, if you had a gender-neutral Olympics, how many women, biological female women, would win gold medals if it was open to men and women? The answer is literally like they might win one or two.
I'm trying to stay above. You're creating this world that makes great clickbait.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not.
No.
I'm throwing back at you the thing you throw back at other people, which is science. I'm telling you that it's the scientific reality, unless you say otherwise, and I don't think you do, because you've already explained that men have a superior speed of power.
I'm not saying otherwise. I started this.
The science is clear to me.
I started this by saying it.
But the science is clear, isn't it?
And I'm saying the solution isn't clear, even if the science is. And so that's all. We can debate what could work. I think the world has to figure it out, and maybe they'll figure it out one day. And maybe it is hormone ratios. I don't know. But if it is hormone ratios and we don't compete sexes, we compete by hormones, that's a whole other interesting future of athletics. By the way, every Olympics, I pause and think to myself, which of these events can and should not be separated by sex? There are some already that are the case. And the equestrian. The equestrian does not separate men from women.
Equestrian and shooting, I think, also is another one where if they're sitting and shooting, there's no reason.
I didn't know. Yeah. So I just figured there's some that would be the case. And we can start there and just work our way up. So yeah, it's a frontier. People are thinking about it. Top people are thinking about it.
All right, so I'm gonna end it here, but yeah, I don't agree with Neil. I agree with Neil in the beginning because I have to agree with him. He brought the facts, right? He did the research. I got a solid work on that, Neil, 100%. You got to also understand it's Neil, so he's gonna try to get some sort of science in there, right? Let's test them by their genetic makeup or whatever, right? He's gonna try to figure it out that way. And that's just him. So I'm not going to knock him at the end of the day because that's him. But I do not think that is a way that we should go about it. I would more so lean on Pierce's way of going about it, where, if you're man, you compete with other men. If you're women, you compete with other women. If you're trans, you compete with other people that are trans. That's pretty much it. Now, yes, do you have people that are trans that have different makeups? Like some will be, you have some that are stronger and more built, and you have some that aren't. Okay, you understand that? I'm talking about at a high level, right? So if we're talking about at a high level, you're obviously in I'm just making this up, but NFL or NBA or whatever you're in for a reason. You've made it that far for a reason, right? So yeah, so all of these things got to play into account. Yeah, I agree with Piers again also on this other point of that is one part of it, right? And I believe he won this argument because Neil did not come back with a better argument for Piers's argument when he said that, right? That's one part of it. But what about the full picture, the full genetic makeup of a man, which again, it's quite obvious, right? So in terms of sports and in terms of that, right? So, and there's things that women are much better at men at, right? Absolutely. No questions asked. Absolutely, right? So, but anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. All right. So let me know, who do you think won this debate? Do you think Piers had the upper hand, or do you think Neil had the upper hand here? As you guys can see, I had to turn on my light because it literally got dark in like 5 minutes, right? So where I live, that's what happens. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for the support. Let me know what you think in the comment section, because why. Get active in those comments. Until next time, peace.